Right. So we are Kaf Daled Shvat, Tafshin Pei, and we're studying Sefer Shmuel Aleph, chapter 21, verse 0. Verse 1. So we just finished the fateful meeting, the last meeting between David and Yonatan, where Yonatan, the son of Shaul, is warning David that he better run away because his life is in danger, and he has, he better take care of what he needs to take care of because Shaul is not able to, as we mentioned last time. So that's where we left last. Now, just a little bit of a background. David at that point was in the field for 3 days. If you recall, the Yonatan's plan was, they started the plan on Erev Rosh Chodesh, and the plan was that Yonatan is going to go the first day of Rosh Chodesh to Saul, and then the second day of Rosh Chodesh to Saul, to the meals, to the royal meals, feast. And then on the third day, which is second day of the month, he will meet David in the field, and there he's going to let him know what's going on. So David is in the field. He has no contact with any other person because he's afraid, and he's alone. He ran away after Saul was looking for him in the house. So in the middle of the night, he slipped through the window and runs away. He didn't have any food with him. He didn't have anything with him, just a shirt on his back, basically. And he met Yonatan briefly, and then he's off, never going to see Yonatan again. Here there is a very, very strong criticism of Yonatan amongst the rabbis.
How do we know that he didn't take a little peckle with him to the field?
We will see. Okay. We will see. He's arriving at his next stop hungry and needing food. Yonatan met him twice. Met him on Erev Rosh Chodesh and met him after. So Erev Rosh Chodesh, it was sort of not planned. But on the third day, when he met him, he brought to the field, he brought the target practice, the arrows, the bow and arrows. But he didn't bring any food to give him. And from here, there is a snowball that's start tragedy after tragedy after tragedy because David ended up hungry, basically. David was very hungry. Just to summarize it, David was very hungry. He runs away, goes to the city of of all the priests, of all the Kohanim, Nov. Over there, he asks for food, and the high priest is giving him some food. He continues to run, but somebody snitches, which Doeg Edomi, we'll talk about him later, snitches that happened. And Shaul is very, very upset. After a short investigation of not much worth of an investigation, I guess similar to the investigations that's going on in some countries nowadays, he kills the entire city. Of all the Kohanim, 80-some Kohanim, he kills them all. And as a result, Doeg, who was the person who snitched, is losing his right to enter Olam Haba. He is one of 4 people who is not going to admit it to Olam Haba ever, which is amazing. 4 people in history. So he is one of them. So he loses. The Kohanim obviously lose their lives.
Were they supposed to know that there was this rift between them?
We'll talk about it. But I just want to concentrate on Yonatan for a second. And Saul is being punished for killing all of the Kohanim, and he himself is being killed. with his 3 sons, including Yonatan. So the rabbis are drawing a conclusion and bringing, which we'll talk about it later, that how important it is to help someone with the material needs, just to feed someone. How important it is to have achnasat oruchim. He says Jethro Yitro was bringing someone off the street. His daughter brought someone off the street, and he took care of him, Moshe Rabbeinu. And as a result of that, Yitro merited to have children sitting in Bet HaMikdash, in the Sanhedrin, and he got a plot of land in the land of Israel. He got a lot of stuff as a result of just feeding someone off the street. Ammon and Moab, when we tried to pass by and go to Eretz Israel, they refused to let us in. They refused to sell us water and food. And as a result, Ammon and Moab is not allowed to join the Jewish people ever. And here we see that Yonatan, all he needed to do is just to bring 2 loaves of bread with him to give to David as his, so he's not going to find himself in the situation which we will see he's finding himself. And that will solve all the problem and will, delay. The Kohanim would be alive, and Doeg is not going to lose his Olam Haba, and Yonatan and Shaul would not die such a violent death so quickly. So, but that's where we are. So keep in mind that David is extremely hungry at the moment. Vayakom vayelech v'Yonatan ba'ayir. So David listens to Yonatan's advice and leaves and go, and Yonatan came to the city. So where does he go? Vayavo Yonatan nove el Achimelech haKohen. So David HaMelech he's not a melech at the moment. David runs away to Nov, which is near Bet El, and he meets Achimelech HaKohen. Now, Achimelech HaKohen was the Kohen Gadol at the time, was the great-grandson of Eli HaKohen, and he's serving in Bet HaMikdash at the moment. Now, as you know, in Bet HaMikdash there were shifts. So Achimelech was the shift that was leaving the position at the moment, and someone else was filling in the next shift. It's groups of people, not just one individual, but he was the Kohen Gadol, and he was part of the shift that was leaving. There is all discussion amongst the rabbis what day of the week was it that David shows up in Nov. Some say it was Shabbos, some say it was not Shabbos. We will see what difference that does it make. But he shows up and he meets Achimelech HaKohen, which is the Kohen Gadol of the time. Vayechrad Achimelech likrat David. So Achimelech sees David alone and coming unannounced. Maybe it's even Shabbos, and David is, runs without anything, no shirt on his back. It's the king's son-in-law. He is a general that was in charge of a lot of soldiers. Vayechrad Achimelech, he got scared. Something is the matter. Something is going on. Vayomer lo madu ata levadecha. Why are you alone? Ve'ish enitach, and there is no one with you. If you're going for war, you need to have a whole, platoon of soldiers. Where are they? If you're going on another mission, you're an important person. How can you come alone like that? It doesn't make any sense. There's no Secret Service, nothing. How what's going on? Now, why did David head to Nov? David had to Nov because he needed guidance. He needed help. And who can help him? The Urim V'Tumim. He went to Nov in order to ask the Kohen Gadol to ask questions for him in the Urim V'Tumim, what to do. Now, the Urim V'Tumim are usually not something that you can just Google in and say, okay, I want to ask a question, let me do it. It's not for everybody. Everybody agrees that the one person who is allowed to ask the Urim V'Tumim is the king. And David is not the king, but he will say shortly that he's sent by the king. So therefore he can use the Urim Tumim. There is also an opinion that you don't need to be a king. Someone, if it's l'tzorchei tzibur, if it's for the benefit of the community, someone else can also ask. And this was in his based on the fact that he was just given the task to pick up after Shaul and bring the Jewish people to the next level. That's tzorech gadol. That's for the purpose of the community. So he knew that the halacha is that he can also ask the Urim Tumim. However, that wasn't the opinion of everyone, and we will see later how that matters as well. If he's allowed or not allowed to ask in the Urim Tumim, and why does it matter? Anyway, so he shows up, and so Vayomer David le'Achimelech. So he told Avimelech the answer. L'Avimelech HaKohen, Hamelech tzivani davar. The king told me something to do, sent me on a mission. Vayomer elai, ish al yeda me'uma et hadavar asher anochi sholechacha. So, and the king told me that no one should know anything about this mission. It was a secret mission. I'm sending you on, and no one should know. V'asher tziviticha, and no one should know that I told you to do a secret mission. Sometimes you send someone on a secret mission, but they have a meeting with the president, and people know that there was a meeting, and it's a secret. Now, the king doesn't even want anybody to know that there was a meeting or there was a mission. Again, he's trying to protect himself, but also trying to protect Achimelech. Because Achimelech should not start asking questions and start, helping a fugitive is not a good thing. So he should just keep his mouth shut, basically, and let's just finish it here between you and I, and let's... Now, I cannot go without an entourage, but I can't go with an entourage when I have a mission that has to remain a secret. So what did I do? I did something very, very simple. I asked the entourage, the kids, the boys that were with me, I asked them to meet me somewhere. So nobody would know, nobody would see me, nobody would see the boys are leaving somewhere and going somewhere. Just meet me there, just go. Nobody is going to question a few boys that are walking, from point A to point B if they don't have someone important with them. So he's trying to cover himself and cover the Kohen as well. El makom ploini al moini, some unknown location. Now, David being hungry for 3 days, no food, he got what's called the bulmus. I don't know if it exists nowadays, but someone get a deep, strong hunger that you must address, otherwise there will be damage to their health. I know that it's possible for a pregnant woman. It happens, if she wants pickles, you gotta go get pickles. Otherwise, some health considerations. I don't know if it happens you as a doctor might know.
Sure.
It happens to a person that if they're not being fed,
Because they undergo
metabolic system issues. All right, so it exists today. I just don't know how to call it. What's the condition in English? Starvation. I don't know. All right, okay. So that's anyway. So the point is that this condition, it's called in Hebrew bulmus. This condition comes with a permission to do a whole bunch of things. Okay, if someone has a bulmus on Yom Kippur, the doctor confirms that the person needs to eat, otherwise,
somebody is diabetic.
If somebody is, right. So they're right. I'm not talking about other conditions. I'm talking about bulmus. So they're allowed to be fed on Yom Kippur food.
rhabdomyolysis.
Hola.
You destroy your kidneys.
Okay, here you go. Thank you. So now, in Jewish law, in halachic law, you have in kashrus law, you have all kinds of things that are not allowed to be eaten. right? We cannot eat a dead animal. We cannot eat certain animals. We cannot eat a whole bunch of things.
Unless it's a bull moose.
Unless it's a bull moose. It's a bull moose, you're allowed to eat anything, except that there is a sequence. It's not if someone has a bull moose, okay, let's start with the pig and go down the, no. With the pork, we have to do the easy, akal kodem.
There's a hierarchy.
There is a hierarchy, exactly. The easy isur first, and then a more severe one if you don't have, and more severe one. So he had this condition, and he needed something to eat. He was he was seeking some food. So the first thing that he's asking Achimelech, he's asking, give me some bread. So he asked him, please give me 5 loaves of bread, or whatever you have. If you don't have 5, give me less. Now why 5? So either 5 because he had 5 boys who are waiting for him somewhere, supposedly, and the food is for them. Or, so that's one side of it. But how does he know? Why does he ask Achimelech for 5 loaves? One of the tasks of the Kohanim every week is to switch lechem apanim. It's the showbread. Okay, there was 12 loaves. Now, those loaves of bread were not regular loaves of bread. They were not done with yeast. It's like a matzah, which is thick about a tefach. Okay, that thick, a tefach of a matzah, and it was put on the table on the table apparatus, which was made for that, and it came out of the oven on Friday or on Shabbos. There is the machloket. There is people disagree whether it was prepared ahead of time or it was prepared on Shabbos, but it remained warm on the table for the whole week. So a week passes by, and there is a showbread that the bread was still fresh. Nowadays, if you don't put it in a vacuum pack or something, or it's after the next day. Yeah, after the next day, the bagel is hard like a rock. Here, it lasted a whole week. Now, the process of changing it is you had, according to their 2 opinions, but just go with one of them. You had 2 Kohanim. One of them was putting the bread in. The other one was taking the bread out, so the table will have always bread. Now, what happened with the 12 loaves? So the 12 loaves were given to the Kohanim to be eaten. 5 of them were given to the for the shift that's just finishing, and 7 was given to the shift that's starting. That's the halacha. So Achimelech was the shift that was just finishing their job, the week or the 2 weeks. What? Depending how many Kohanim exist, If you had, and how many shifts were there? It started with 12 shifts, and then David HaMelech made it 24 shifts, and then Shlomo HaMelech had it 48. I may be mistaken with the numbers, but they were added. Shmuel instituted some, and David instituted some. Anyway,
why 5 and 7?
So why not? Because the lechem, it was a benefit for the Kohanim who are coming to serve now. So do you appreciate that you came and you're here? And the ones that they all ended up eating 12 anyway. 5 when they start, 5 when they start, and 7 when they left. So, but to show appreciation for those who are coming, you give them more. So he knew that he must have, the Kohen Gadol would have the 5 loaves. So that's what he's asking for. He's not asking for 15. He's not asking for 3. Now, David, knowing the fact that in the past 3 days he didn't eat, he's not going to devour 5 loaves of bread in one sitting. So he would take some, and he will have a little more for the road. It's pikuach nefesh according to everybody, because he didn't have who to ask and where to ask, so he needed that bread. Now, what is the what is the halacha of this bread? What is the status of this bread? So, when Bet HaMikdash is around, this bread can be eaten only to Kohanim. Someone who's not a Kohen is not allowed to eat it. However, there are levels in holy breads, in holy food, there are levels. The bread, after it's off the table, it's the least holy of all the holies. Okay? When it's on the table, if someone comes to the table and take a loaf of bread and eat it, then they obligated me'ilah. It's a big sin and different way to repent for it. It was a trouble. You can't just do it. But after it was removed, gracefully, according to plan, and the bazichin, the incense that were on the table at the time, was put on the altar and burned. Now the bread is holy but light holy. Is a sort of, so that is the easiest thing to give someone if you don't have regular food off the store. If you don't have, just if someone have a bulmus, that's like the easiest thing to give them. So that's what he was asking Achimelech to give him. So Vayan HaKohen et David. So Achimelech answers David, Vayomer En lechem chol el tachat yadi. Listen, you came to a Kohanim city. In a Kohanim city, there is no need to have a regular ShopRite. There is a holy ShopRite. You have only food that the Kohanim can eat. The Kohanim are usually being fed with all kinds of gifts from Truma and other such matnot kehuna, right? Gifts for the Kohanim. And all of those things have some level of holiness to them. So I only have holy stuff here. I don't have regular bread. Ki im lechem kodesh yesh. Now, I have lechem kodesh. Now, because David is not telling him yet that he has bulmus, that he didn't eat for 3 days. He was going with the story of the boys that are waiting for him somewhere and he needs to give them food, right? So the Kohen is answering him. Are those boys pure? They're pure. Because I understand that there is a situation and there is a pikuach nefesh and they don't have anything to eat and whatever, and you need to feed them, but you need to have basic purity. And a way that someone becomes impure is if they have if they see semen in the relationship, right? They have to go to the mikveh the next day. So and since they're soldiers, they're boys, and they're young, it was likely that they had this that they're not pure. So he asked David, "Are the kids pure?" Vayan David et HaKohen vayomer lo, Ki im isha tzura lanu. Yes, they're pure. They from kitmol shilshom, from yesterday and the day before, we are already on this mission, and therefore we didn't have any relationships. The kids didn't have any relationship. The boys, betzeti, as I went out, because I can't vouch for them while they're waiting for me when I don't see them. But when we went out, from the time we went out, they were okay. Vayu klei hanarim kodesh, and they managed to keep all of their belongings holy. Now, let's just understand what was happening in those days, because those days are coming soon when Mashiach comes, and it's important to know. What's happening is that you have from anything that grows, from any from wheat or fruit, you have to give, and vegetables, you have to give something to the Kohanim. Now that food, the truma that you give to the Kohanim, has to be kept holy. Trumat me'ah has to be burned. It's a big isur midoraita from the Torah, not to make the trumat impure, and definitely not to consume it when it's impure. Now, in an agricultural society like then, everybody dealt with new harvest and with new fruit and they were all dealing with it all the time. And they always had truma to give to the Kohen, always. I mean, whenever there is a harvest or whenever there is a new set of vegetables coming from the ground, that's midrabanan, but whatever, it had to be handled and it was given to the Kohen. So what the Kohanim would come, or they would go to the Kohanim, but it has to be handled by people. Now, if it's handled by someone, if it's handled by someone who's impure, they right away make the truma not, impure, and it's a problem. So people who knew, people who were learned people, who cared, and in that day and age, it was most of the people, made sure that everything that they eat, even chulin, was always pure. Because you never know when a Kohen will show up at your doorstep or when you need to interact with the Kohen. You can't even shake the Kohen hands if you're impure. So they made sure that even their chulin was eaten al taharat HaKodesh. It's a level.
They didn't do this.
Al taharat HaKodesh. So the chulin is regular food. It's just food that Tom, Dick, and Harry buys and eats, right? Now you don't have to eat. Chulin can be eaten impure. It's not. There's no problem with it. But there are implications, and they had to work with the implications. So everybody was very sensitive to it, and the Kohen wanted to make sure that here, you're going on a mission. We don't know where you went, what you did. You had to kill someone on the way. I don't know what happened. So is everybody pure? So he said, yeah, they're all pure, and they all made sure that what they carry with them is pure. V'hu derech chol, and the bread that you removed from the table, from the showbread, at this point is almost like chol, because it's the lowest level of holiness, because it's not that big of a deal, so you don't have to worry. Now there is an opinion even that we spoke about it several times, that there is a time in history where people were allowed to have altars in the backyard. It's called bamot, right? The podiums, whatever. And this is one of the times that it was allowed. It was not allowed in the desert. It was allowed in the Gilgal in the 14 years. And then when the Mishkan was moved to Shiloh, it was disallowed again. And when it moved away from Shiloh until the time of the first temple, 52 years, at that time it was allowed again. And then
Not everybody could go to the Beit HaMikdash.
Not everybody could go to the Beit HaMikdash. The Beit HaMikdash was not as permanent, so the Beit HaMikdash was separated from the Ark at that time. So it didn't have the same status. So people say that in that stage, where you have bamot ktanot are allowed, where regular podiums are allowed everywhere, lechem hapanim also is degraded and is sort of not really holy. So not what?
Responsible for going out and getting the flour.
So you had right. So
it would have to be like kemach yoshon or
right. So in order to make the showbread, it was a whole system, and the showbread was made actually. I don't know it's probably later years. You had a special family that would do that knew how to do it, because again the problem is how
the only ones who were allowed.
There was two issues here. There was the purity of the bread, but also there was the recipe, because it was bread that was folded like a lying down C, and it was thick, and it was matzah, and it had no leavened bread, no yeast, and people, nowadays we don't know how to do it now. You needed to know how to make it. So, but the Kohanim in general, the ones that were in charge, they were part of making it and dealing with it. So
it was a very big job.
It was a job, yeah. But it's 12 loaves a week, It's not like they needed to produce 2 million loaves of bread a day, It's 12 loaves of bread.
You have to have the showbread always available?
The showbread was on the table, lechem hapanim was on the table the whole week. The same 12 loaves were sitting on the table the whole week. And they would be replaced with another 12 loaves, and that's it. You wouldn't make any
The ones
in
we're
the
talking
middle.
about are the ones that are taken off.
Right,
the
and
table.
those are the ones that were taken off the table, right. Anyway. ואף כי היום יקדש בכלי, and this is that's when he told him that he has a bulmus. And even if it is holy, as you might think it is, today, because I have bulmus, it's pikuach nefesh, you have to give it to me anyway. So let's just get past that. Vaiten lo HaKohen Kodesh. So the Achimelech HaKohen gave David the 5 loaves. כי לא היה שם לחם, כי אם לחם הפנים, because he didn't have any other bread. המוסרים מלפני השם, those were the bread that was taken off. Now, it was very fresh, because it's bread that had a whole miracle done on it. So he got fresh, a week old, but very fresh bread. לשום לחם חום ביום ילקחו, because it was the day that you switch. It had the bread, and the bread was warm, as in the day that it was taken, it was baked. Now, from this pasuk, that's the source of those who say that David showed up on Shabbos, because that's the day that you exchange the lechem hapanim. You take the old out and you put the new in. It's on Shabbos. So that's the source of those who say that it was on Shabbos. Now, some say that it wasn't on Shabbos, it was just baking it and was preparing it. It was a day after Shabbos, a day before Shabbos, a whole discussion, I'm not sure. But anyway, this is...
How can you carry the bread around?
what?
How will he be able to carry the bread?
It's pikuach nefesh. It's pikuach nefesh. We'll see soon. He also takes a sword. I mean, it's pikuach nefesh. He has people after him. They're gonna get killed. Okay. Now, Achimelech is sitting and talking to David. ושם איש מעבדי שאול ביום ההוא נעצר לפני השם ושמו דואג האדומי אביר הרועים אשר לשאול. So over there was a man from the advisors of Shaul, the servants of Shaul, who stopped there on that day, who came to learn, because the Kohanim were the place, the yeshiva, the head yeshiva of the time. So he came to learn over there, Lifnei Hashem, and his name was Doeg HaEdomi, and he was Abir HaRoim Asher LeShaul. Abir HaRoim means, some say he was in charge of all of the shepherds, he was in charge of all of the cattle, all of the sheep and the can, and he was, his name was Doeg HaEdomi. Now he was Jewish, he was learned, he was one of the best scholars of the time. He is called Edomi because he is coming from Edom. That's the basic understanding. He's coming from the area of Edom, from the other side of the Jordan River. And he is the guy that we're going to have to now elaborate a little bit on him, his character, his way of life, what he did before. So when it starts way back, when David shows up and kill Goliath. Before that, when Shaul is slipping into his melancholy, and he needs some music to cheer him up, they found David. Oh, there is David. Doeg HaEdomi is the one that suggested David, and then he's the one. Why? Because he thought that he is really not competition to anyone, because he's just the lowest of the family there. And then when there was the whole discussion with Goliath, he was also that was suggesting, let him go, let the guy go and let him kill himself. What do you care? And then when he saw the success, he started becoming super jealous of David, because he saw that everything that he touches becomes gold. And he started putting sticks in the wheels and starting to talk, dripping very, very, very smartly, but a lot of venom into Shaul, and he's probably part of the reason why Shaul was so upset with David, was so annoyed with him, was so this hatred. Where is the hatred coming from? A lot of it is coming from Doeg HaEdomi. He told him, when Shaul promised his daughter, right? And now this guy has to get the daughter. So he started saying that he is coming from Ruth. He is a Moabite. He's not allowed to come. Yeah, he is the guy that started this whole story talking against David. And right away, it makes even when it's not done in openly, the venom is there and it works. Now,
who was the other one that we called Edomi that he was quick to get angry? We had a character like
Esav?
No, we learned about.
Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, maybe. Anyway, now there are several interpretations why his name is Adomi, besides the fact that he came from Edom. So number one, because he was so smart, but he was corrupt and had a very bad personality. When he would talk to someone, he would make sure to embarrass them, to show them that he knows better, that what you're saying is stupid. He would make sure to make the other person's face red. Adomi. That's number one. Then he also was jealous in David, who was redhead. Again, was looking to be like the Edomi. He's the one that caused the blood of all of the Kohanim in Nov to be spilled. Spilling the blood. Edom, Dam, Edomi. He's the one that later on told Shaul, after David ran away, he told Shaul that it's okay to give Michal to someone else, she's Eshet Ish. And he told him, no, he's not even a Jew, because and therefore the wedding is not a wedding, and she can be given. So he permitted her basically spilling the blood of David, spilling the blood of Michal. How can you separate? They had such a big love. So that's another reason. And the final one, which I found extraordinary, is at the time of Milchemet Amalek, when Shaul was fighting to eradicate Amalek. What was the problem? The problem is that he left Agag alive. He spared Agag. He spared Agag because Doeg HaEdomi talked him into sparing Agag. What did he tell him? He told him, Katuv b'Torah, it says in the Torah regarding an axe and a calf. You're not allowed to kill an animal and the animal's offspring on one day. It's just not. It's not human. And now you're taking a whole people, and you do it. Spare the guy. You killed his children, you killed his parents, whatever. Spare him, and can wait with him. And that's the reason that Shaul listened to him and kept Agag alive, which was the source of all of the problems of Shaul from that point on. We say afterwards, the rabbis are saying that Doeg HaEdomi died when he was 34 years of age, and it's exactly half of his age. He was supposed to live till 68, and he died halfway because of Lashon Hara. Because he snitched. Now, when he snitched, later on we will see, when he told Saul that Achimelech gave David bread and all of that, he said only the truth, but half of it. He only said half of the truth. He didn't say anything wrong, but it's called Lashon Hara. And in Lashon Hara, 3 people are dying. The person who spoke, the person who listened, and the person who was speaking about. So Achimelech is the Kohen. He was the subject. He died. Saul died, and Doeg died, and was not admitted to Olam Haba. So this is Doeg HaEdomi. He's going to stay with us for a while now. He's I don't want to say whatever. He's the supreme jerk of the story here. is being mentioned again and again and again in that way.
They discussed why his name was Doeg.
Oh, so Doeg was
I got the
yes,
Doeg part.
yes. So the Doeg is because God was worried about him. We don't know if that's his real name or it's a nickname, but the rabbis are saying Doeg, God is worried about him that he shouldn't get off the derech, that he shouldn't, because he was able to, obviously he did. He had this in him, and God was worried. Please don't, because the destruction, the evil, the bad that you can bring to the world is so enormous. Saul was killed because of you. All the Kohanim. I mean, it's crazy. Please. So God was doeg. God was worried about it. Now later on, we'll see that his name is spelled differently. Doeg, Daled Vav Yud Aleph Gimel, and that is it's being read Dooi. After he already did the bad thing, God is saying, Oi, Doeg. God, so that's his name. All right, so Abir HaRoim, it's funny that nowadays someone who is very smart in some books, some rabbis are being called Abir HaRoim, but I don't know why. Abir HaRoim, it would seem like something that's related to Doeg Adomi should run away from. I don't know, but it's being some people are being praised by that name. Anyway, he was the head of the Sanhedrin or something. He wasn't the head of the Sanhedrin, but he was one of the biggest scholars of the time. Anyway, ויאמר דוד לאחימלך ואין יש פה תחת ידך חנית או חרב כי גם חרבי גם כלילה לקחתי בידי כי היה דבר המלך נחוץ. So then David is asking Achimelech, listen, do you have here some weapons, some spear or some sword? Because as you see, I had to run. It was an emergency. So I couldn't get all of my gear and walk out of the palace like that. People will know that I'm going somewhere. I just didn't take anything because it was needed for the mission of the king, either because of time considerations or people shouldn't see it. V'amar Kohen, the only cherev that I have here is Goliath, the cherev of Goliath. גוליית הפלישתי אשר הכית בעמק האלה, הנה הילותה בשמלה אחרי היפוד אשר אימותה תיקח לך כך כי אין אחרת זולתה בזה. So he tells him the only sword that I have here is the sword of Goliath, and he is hidden behind in that cloth behind the ephod, which is Wapitom, we'll say in a second. And you should take it because I don't have anything else. Sounding very reluctant to give it. Now, we all know that if you've gone to Jewish museums, if you go to other people's museums, you see swords and weaponry and torture chambers and all kinds of good stuff that is, shortening the life of the people. And in Jewish museums, you see tefillin, you see a book, you see mezuzah, you see menorah, you see Sefer Torah, talis. You don't see swords, you don't see guns, and you don't see any of that. The only one that was it's unfortunate at the time of Altalena when Rabin was shooting at the ship. In the 50s, when 48, the ship came with Etzel, they brought some weaponry, and Ben Gurion gave the order, and Rabin. They killed 17 Jewish people who came with the ship with the weapons because there was infighting amongst us. And David Ben Gurion then at the time said, "This is the holy cannon that killed those people. He should be in Bet HaMikdash when it builds." This is weird stuff. So anti whatever we're all about. Anyway, but there was one time in history that we did have a sword on display, and that's the sword of Goliath, and it was there in order to make sure that the miracle is being published properly, and so. Achimelech did not want to let it go because who knows if it's going to come back.
Well, it also took two normal people to lift it.
Yeah, but David was able to lift it, obviously. Now, the other thing is, and we will finish with that. So before we say the other thing, so what happened Achara Ephod? Why it's Achara Ephod? He was telling him, after he asked Beurim V'Tumim, the ephod is where you ask the breastplate, right? That's where you ask. So after he asked the Urim V'Tumim, then he started talking about the sword. So, and we will see, so it's being hinted here, it's not directly, but later on, we will see that Achimelech says clearly that he was asked, he was telling Shaul that your man came here and told me that I need to ask God for, in the Urim and Tumim. I thought you sent him. I thought he's your messenger. And therefore I did it. What do you want from me? It didn't help him. But anyway, the other thing is there is a rule amongst the soldiers, at least the soldiers of the time, that if someone is killed by his own sword, don't use that sword. What? It's bad luck. And therefore, Achimelech didn't want to give it to David. He told him this, the Goliath was killed by his own sword. But for David, he says, Venzolata, it's the best for me, because I'm the one that killed him. I'm the one that used it. So for me, if you're talking about luck, if you're talking about mazal, I am the one that walked with the mazal in this sword. Anyway, so we'll see. Vayoma David and Kamo Atnenali, this is the best for me. We'll talk about it later.